Sticking with James Gunn, because there's a little bit more that has got some details now about his Superman follow-up, and he's going to actually reveal which DCU project shoots next. So let's see. Moving on for more James Gunn stuff. James Gunn has talked more about his Superman sequel that's not a sequel and reveals that both it and a mystery TV series will begin shooting next for a possible 2027 release. Josh Wilding writes, Superman received positive reviews and will soar beyond 600 million at the worldwide box office later this week. However, DC Studios co-CEO and filmmaker James Gunn isn't making Superman 2 next, and he continues to play coy about his second big screen DCU project. Warner Bros. Discovery has confirmed that it's a movie in the super family, with the prevailing theory that we're getting a Superman/Supergirl team up. If so, Gunn must be confident in the odds of next summer's Supergirl being a crowd-pleasing hit. During a new interview with Chris Hardwick, Gunn said, I can say that probably the next movie we're going to be making is this follow-up to Superman, which I don't want to get in too much detail on, but that's what probably the next film we're making is, I think. Well, hopefully we're making the Batman Part 2 before that, and then I think it's the Superman follow-up, he continued, but confirming a 2027 release for the movie. And then we have another TV show, which nobody knows about, which is going next. The series he mentions is a bit of a mystery to us, as Booster Gold, Waller, Paradise Lost don't appear anywhere close to starting production. Has another mystery project been added to the DCU slate that wasn't announced at the start of 2023? Seems likely. Back to his Superman follow-up. Gunn previously said it's within the group of characters we've already met, and Superman's an important element of it. So that's what I'll say. But like that movie, that treatment is done. Not outside the realm of possibility, the filmmaker surprises us with a Justice League International movie. Though that would be an extremely ballsy move on his part. He dismissed the idea of a world's finest feature, which would team Superman up with Batman. No great surprise if the Super Family title is headed our way in the same year as the Batman Part 2. Brave and the Bold and Wonder Woman remain somewhere on the horizon. However, with Supergirl facing stiff competition at the box office next summer and Clayface is a more obscure horror project, DC Studios could be relying on the Superman follow-up to be its next big hit. Superman's legs at the U.S. box office have been impressive, but it struggled to resonate with moviegoers overseas. What's that mean for Supergirl and other Super Family movie remains to be seen. Okay. This, again, very interesting overall, Chris Card. So I think that you get the confirmation once again that it's going to be this kind of Super Family thing, or he's involved and it's going to be one of those movies. It's similar. People might not love this, but it's similar to what they did with the DCU. Like, it's not a Superman sequel. It's Superman v. Batman. Now, I don't think they're going to do that again, but it's not a Superman sequel per se. It is a follow-up with him and somebody else. Let's start with this. What do you think it ultimately is? And is it risky that it's coming out in 2 years? I am going to tell you guys right now, when I heard MasterClass was coming on as sponsor of the show, I was like, oh, this is great. I've been using MasterClass forever. It's just the best. So I've been talking about business, the way the business works and the movie business, and they have the MasterClass by Bob Iger that I use. And man, just listening to that guy and the access that you get because of MasterClass, holy moly. I was able to use some of those tips and things that he was saying, and just like little exercises that he does in his life when he wakes up, things that you try to do, even something simple as just not even being around your phone, hearing people that you're like, oh, look at what they've done, what they've accomplished. And clearly they have some kind of game plan. That's what you get from MasterClass, because there's nothing from gaining a fresh perspective from experts who've seen it all, and they got the wisdom to prove it. So that's what I got when I was listening to that Bob Iger one. It really has changed my whole perspective on all of this. In MasterClass, you can learn from the best to become your best. They got plans starting at like $10 a month. It's billed annually, and you get unlimited access to over 200 classes taught by the world's best business leaders, writers, chefs, and more. With MasterClass, you get thousands of bite-sized lessons across 13 categories that can fit into even the busiest of schedules. Super easy. So I know there's a lot of people who are big comedy fans too. There's one, the one with Amy Poehler. So you can like apply improv to your daily life. You can develop your singular voice with Mindy Kaling, and you can learn to tell a story that persuades people with Michael Lewis. There's so many different people. So one with Natalie Portman over there. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm going to. And the classes, they do really make a difference. 3 in 4 surveyed members feel inspired every time they watch MasterClass. Include me in there also. Every new membership comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. There's no risk. Right now, our listeners, you get an additional 15% off any annual membership at masterclass.com/bigthing. That's 15% off at masterclass.com/bigthing. Masterclass.com/bigthing.
Ooh. I feel like with all they're working on right now, it won't feel like we've waited that long for this movie, is my hope.
That's not too long. That's not too long.
It's not too long.
No.
And I'm hoping that because James Gunn also writes very quickly, that this was something that, because he was like, oh, I'm already working on the treatment. I mean, the Guardian special, I know that was a very small project comparatively, but still, he wrote that in like, what, a day is what he said or something? Oh. He moves quickly and he moves well. So I'm hoping that this kind of successor is something focused on, you know, the Justice Gang becoming more of the Justice League that we know. Maybe doing that shift. Mr. Terrific was incredibly well received, so maybe we're going to do a little focus on him, which could be very cool as well. So we've got a lot of options of where we go with this so that we're continuing the story we've started here. And I think ultimately, what I want at least, is let's continue exploring how this world operates and receives superheroes and super peoples, especially because we got so little Hawk Girl in this movie. And there's two different versions of Hawk Girl. There's the past lives regenerated or reincarnated Hawk Girl, or there's the Thanagarian Hawk Girl, who's an actual alien. And if Superman being an alien is a huge problem, I'm wondering if other heroes maybe haven't disclosed that they're not from around these parts. I think that could be something really interesting to talk about. But I'm wondering if we're going to just continue building on that ensemble as opposed to doing more little one-offs. Or the Superman Supergirl team up would just be delightful because they're both on Earth at the same time. We've already seen them interact a tiny bit. And after she has her own movie, it would make sense for us to see them doing some stuff together.
It would, but as they mentioned in the article, you know, he's got to have some serious confidence in Supergirl. And I know that he already, how much that comic book is just revered by people. I know people love that World of Tomorrow comic book. I mean, or Woman of Tomorrow comic book. People keep talking about it all the time. Every single time I say that. Yeah, it's okay. So you're another one that talks about how great it is, and I just did the reaction with Sam, and I pretty much even referenced that. I said, look, because she didn't love, she's still kind of on the fence about the Supergirl thing, and she's like, you know, it was funny, but some of it I don't know yet. And I said, well, I'll tell you the same thing that these people told me because I had the same reaction. I said, apparently you got to really know this run because people just love it. If it hits the casual audience, if they adapt it in the way that it hit you guys, then it looks like they could have a hit, and then they could bring her aboard to team up with him after having a successful movie. But as far as not releasing this thing, because if you look, you're going to release the Batman 2 in 2027. Then you've got whatever this movie is around the same time. Then you stay clear of Brave and the Bold, but I think you've got to release Brave and the Bold the following year. I mean, I think you have to. Right?
I would think so. Well, yeah, because we still also are operating under the assumption that Robert Pattinson isn't our Batman. He's an Elseworlds Batman. But that's and we have to figure out a way that I say we, like I'm going to sit down and be like, James, let's solve this together. But we do have to rectify that Gotham is so removed from the world of Superman. And not in a way that is different cities have a different vibe. It's so jarringly different. They live in different worlds. So that has to be something that you rectify. And that Brave and Bold movie, I think, is that kind of tether, especially if we're moving forward with Pattinson, of how do we get this guy to hang out with all of our other super friends.
You still think Pattinson's going to be part of it?
I think they'll probably remove him after this. I think we'll be done with this Batman. But I've heard a lot of other people saying, oh no, we should just move forward with him since he's so good.
Tons of people say that. I mean,
he's great, but this version of him, the Matt Reeves version of Batman, doesn't make sense for the DC universe that is being established, at least in my opinion.
No, I agree.
Because it is so dark and gritty.
It feels like more like a David Fincher. It almost fits more in the Nolan world than it does.
Yeah, it's Seven with Batman.
100%. It doesn't work. Not in this world, but it's not to say that you couldn't put Pattinson in it as Batman. And
you just have to switch up the vibes of all of it.
Switch up the vibes a little bit, but I almost in the way, and people aren't going to like this reference because I didn't like the way they switched up either. But look at the vibe in the difference of when they took Kingpin, they put him in Hawkeye. Significantly different than when he was in the Netflix series, but yet it was still Kingpin because it was Vincent D'Onofrio, and he was still doing. You're like, oh, a little more cartoony, but it fit that Hawkeye world. It didn't feel the same though, so maybe it doesn't work.
Daredevil going into She-Hulk,
right?
You know,
exactly.
where it was, oh yeah, this is still Matt. This is still the guy who I know, but we're doing a very different kind of thing here.
Yeah, so I think they keep it Elseworlds, and then you just get another Batman, and they'll probably do that maybe within a year time. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people won't be confused with it, and they'll say, okay, let's just move.
Do you think they'll just be done with the Elseworlds idea after this, so you don't have dueling bats?
No, I think that especially because you'd be an idiot if you put the Batman 2 and it winds up because. So let me really backtrack a little bit. If the movie doesn't perform, then maybe. But if the movie is as big of a hit as the first one, you'd be an idiot not to finish up the trilogy. Like, why make the second one if you want it to be successful just to give Matt Reeves a bone? That doesn't make any sense. So, you make this movie, and now I think less Elseworld stuff will happen. Like again, if Joker 2 would have been the massive hit that they thought it could have been. Now, would they have done a Joker 3? Probably not, but they would have. But who knows if they would have continued to play in different worlds? It just gives them the option if they want to.
Yeah,
right? You know what I mean? That's the biggest thing about it.
Well, I always feel comic book fans are so always down for that, right? We're just so used to it of, oh, well, it's a different writer, or it's a different universe, or whatever. And I always am trying to talk to people who aren't as inside this bubble of, does the Elseworld idea make sense to you? Is it confusing to you to have multiple Batman? And for the most part, most of the people I've talked to do no, I really like the idea of having this guy exist, but then also having Batman come hang out over here.
Sure.
So I feel like it's something you can do. You just have to treat your audience with the intelligence they deserve.
Here's a question for you. Well, let's say Batman 2 releases and worldwide makes $710 million, where Superman is just going to cross 600. What does James Gunn and DCU do in that moment?
Ooh. Well, and that is very possible too, because Batman does perform well overseas. People love this character.
Another scenario. Let's say that then Brave and the Bold comes out a year later and does 600 million, and Matt Reeves does 710. What do you do?
I mean, do you start putting all your eggs in the Batman basket?
Probably not. You probably have to. You have to eat it. You have to just take it on the chin. But it's
and figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, and that's always been an interesting thing from a comic perspective too. Of we've had this shift in different times where people relate to Superman more than they relate to Batman. And for a long time in comics, people didn't relate to Batman because it was this rich, privileged, traumatic character. Whereas Superman had either the power fantasy of, I wish I could, right all the wrongs in the world. I wish I could do good and be the powerful person who could do this. I do feel isolated or ostracized or other, and walking through life in that way. And then we've seen this kind of shift in that of people really enjoying the vigilantism of Batman or the cunning of Batman or being the peak of humanity and doing what you need to get justice. So it'll be interesting to see how people continue to react to these two characters on the big screen with these versions of them.
Batman has traditionally done better than Superman, especially internationally, right?
Yeah.
So it's not going to be too much of a shock if the Batman makes more than Superman, but it is going to be a bit of a shock if a year later the DCU's Batman does significantly less. And that could be part of the fatigue side of it. That could be part of maybe the tone. I'd rather see this kind of tone instead, or they both could do very well.
I'm hoping it's that. I'm hoping it's you get a couple different flavors. Going to see a DC film gets to be like you buying whatever Ben and Jerry's you want.
Yeah.
One day you're in the mood for Cherry Garcia, and one day you're in for some fish food. You know what I mean? Go get whatever you want.
And then the other side of this interview, though, I thought was interesting was this like mystery TV show, whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
I hope it's something again related to this. And so some people saying Creature Commandos, like Creature Commandos is a fun. Let's make it a one-off. Season 1 it was fun. We're good. We're good.
I'd love to see some more stuff with some of whoever's still alive without spoiling it for other people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked it as its own entity and existing like as it is. I was not expecting it to be so good or so emotional.
Great. So but it is what it is. And let's get everybody on board too, because as we know, they're like and that's clearly that show is made for adults. Creature Commandos. And but animation does not throw a wide enough net if you're trying to get everybody connected to the DCU. And I think to start with an animated show, great, because it's a little tidbits. If you get rewarded from it, great. But if you're continuing on the lore now, you're going to lose people if you just do animated.
Exactly. And not to always make everything a comparison to Star Wars, but we've seen this in Star Wars too, where certain things just do work better animated. Right. And then when we try to make them live action, it's this kind of falls flat. And I wish we stayed in this medium and in this world. 100%. And I feel like that's where Creature Commandos really thrives, because you can do all this really jarring, violent stuff, kind of like Invincible, where it's a little bit more palpable because it is animated, that you can go, this can go as off the rails as you want it to.
Absolutely. And there's certain things you can do sometimes that, when you have someone's eyes popping out of their head in animation, you're like, oh, that's crazy. But when you do it depending on how you shoot it in live action, it looks cartoony. And as you said,
it's bad, or I vomit,
Yeah. Well, you mentioned like the Star Wars thing. What I always bring up is, if you take and I bring this reference up 1,000 times, you saw Ahsoka, the season. So those zombie stormtroopers, whatever the ones that come up, if you did that in animated, it would look creepy. It would work. It looked so stupid, and it was so ridiculous in that live action thing. So it doesn't always transfer over. But anyway, what do you guys make of all the stuff James Gunn said? You liking it? You digging it? What do you think is going to happen next? Put your thoughts in there. Let us know.